You know, the biggest mistake in business, the one that costs companies fortunes, is this idea that the best product always wins. We call it the rational meritocracy illusion. But here's the hard truth, a neurological fact, really. People don't buy what's best. They buy what's easiest to understand. Today, we're going deep on the science behind that, something called cognitive fluency. So let's just start with this foundational lie. I mean, we've all seen it happen, right? You see a product that's technically amazing, it has more features, better specs, and it just gets crushed in the market by a competitor that's way simpler, maybe even a little inferior. Why? Why does this happen again and again? It's because we're all playing by a rule book that's just plain wrong. On one side, you've got the story we tell ourselves. The market is a fair judge. The winner is the one with better features, more proof, the most technical superiority. But the reality, what's actually happening inside your customer's brain, is a totally different story. The brain isn't looking for the best choice. It's a survival machine, and it's looking for the easiest choice. It's wired to move toward whatever is easier to understand, takes less effort, and gives it that feeling of cognitive ease. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by tearing down that big lie we all believe. Then we'll look at how your brain is dealing with information today. After that, we'll get into the mechanics of the fluency engine and the psychology of why easy just feels so true. Then we'll get practical with a framework you can use, and finally, we'll talk about the huge advantage this gives you. All right, let's get into it. Part 1, the lie we all believe. It's time to officially dismantle this whole idea that being better is enough. The truth is, it's much more primitive than that. See, your brain isn't some impartial judge carefully weighing all the facts. It's a metabolic miser. Think of it like a phone stuck on low power mode. Its number one non-negotiable priority is to conserve energy. That single biological drive shapes every single decision we make, especially when we're deciding whether or not to buy something. It absolutely hates doing complex work. And that brings us to this critical concept, cognitive strain. You know that feeling when you're trying to read something complicated and your eyes just glaze over? That's it. When you make a customer struggle through jargon and confusing features, you're not impressing them, you're exhausting them. And that strain sends a powerful subconscious signal to the brain that says, warning, this is hard, something feels wrong here. Complexity literally triggers distrust. So you have to ask yourself this very direct question. All that work you're putting into sounding sophisticated and listing every single feature, is it actually making a good impression? Or is it just tiring out their brains and pushing them to go find an easier answer somewhere else? Okay, section 2, let's talk about why this is more important now than ever before. This isn't just some neat psychology trick. It's a survival strategy that's emerged from a huge shift in our world, a crisis that rewrote the rules. And this timeline shows it perfectly. For most of history, information was a scarce resource. But then, around the mid-2010s, we hit what you could call peak data. The fire hose of information became overwhelming. Our brains, to cope, developed a new defense mechanism, a kind of cognitive spam filter that just aggressively deletes anything that looks too complicated. This information crisis forced a complete change in strategy. The old playbook was all about benefit stacking. Just keep piling on more features, more reasons to buy. The assumption was more is better. The new playbook is about cognitive deloading. It's about systematically finding and removing every little bit of mental friction. And this led to a new king of all metrics, time to comprehension. It's not just about conversions anymore, it's about speed. How many seconds does it take for a total stranger to land on your page and get what you do? If that number is high, it doesn't matter how good your product is. You've already lost the battle for their mental energy. The goal, on a neurological level, is to keep your buyer's brain in what Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman calls System 1. That's our fast, intuitive gut feeling mode. It's where we make most of our decisions, and it's happy there. Cognitive strain is what kicks the brain into System 2, which is slow, analytical, full of effort, and extremely skeptical. You don't want your customers there. So, if that's the goal, how do we actually engineer for it? That brings us to section 3, the fluency engine. This is the blueprint for creating that beautiful neural path of least resistance. And the engine is actually pretty simple. It's built on 3 layers that work together. First, you've got visual fluency. Then comes linguistic fluency. And finally, the most powerful of all, conceptual fluency. When you get all 3 of these humming, your offer becomes almost frictionless. Okay, layer 1, visual fluency. Think of this as the bouncer at the door of your customer's brain. Before they read a single word, their eyes are sizing up your design. Is it cluttered and chaotic? That creates instant strain. Or is it clean, symmetrical, with lots of white space? That signals safety and order, telling the brain, hey, it's okay, you can relax here. Next up is the syntax gate, linguistic fluency. This is all about the words you choose. Every time you use complex jargon or a $10 word, you force the brain to pause and burn calories decoding it. But when you use simple, high-frequency words, the words we use every single day, they're processed instantly. Zero extra energy required. And this brings us to the final layer, the master key, conceptual fluency. This is the art of making a new idea feel instantly familiar. Instead of asking someone to build a whole new concept in their mind from scratch, you build a bridge from something they already understand deeply. It is the ultimate shortcut to that, aha, I get it moment.
So how can you tell if your fluency engine is broken? You measure decision latency. You know when you see someone just kind of frozen on a web page, their mouse isn't moving? That's not them thinking deep thoughts. That's confusion. That pause, that hesitation before they act, is a direct measurement of cognitive load. High latency means your offer is failing. All right, moving on to section 4. So we know what this is, but let's get into the really fascinating part. Why does this work on such a deep primal level? Let's dive into the psychology of it. And it really all starts with this one wild statistic. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it burns a whopping 20% of your daily calories. That's why it's a metabolic miser. Saving energy isn't a preference. It's a deep biological command that's been hardwired into us for survival. So cognitive fluency taps into a few powerful psychological shortcuts. First is the mere exposure effect. Our brains are literally wired to prefer things that feel familiar and are easy to process. We mistake that feeling of ease for a feeling of safety. That leads right into the illusion of truth. If my brain can process this information easily, it must be correct. And finally, all this ease just feels good. It keeps the buyer in a positive, receptive state, not a critical, analytical one. And this quote just nails the whole thing. This is the subconscious thought running in your customer's head. The feeling of ease gets misinterpreted by the brain as a sign of accuracy. It's a powerful hack that lets you slide right past their skepticism filters. So here's the big mindset shift you need to make. In a world that is just screaming with complexity, you're not just selling your product or your service. You are selling the profound feeling of relief that comes from finally encountering something that is just beautifully, wonderfully simple to understand. That relief is the real product. Which brings us to the practical part. Section 5, the architect's framework. We've talked about the why, now let's get into the how. This is your step-by-step guide to actually engineering cognitive fluency into everything you do. And it really comes down to these 4 steps. First, you have to architect everything you write with simple, high-frequency language. Second, you engineer your designs for symmetry and clarity. Third, you find your core analogy and you build that bridge. And fourth, you become obsessed with measuring your comprehension velocity. Here's a quick, brutal test for that first step. Could a 10-year-old understand your headline and explain it to their friend? If the answer is no, your language is too complex. And it's not about dumbing it down. It's about achieving a higher level of clarity. Anything less, and you've already lost the battle for their attention. And here is maybe the greatest example of an analogy bridge in modern history. Uber could have called itself a geospatial logistics app. I mean, technically, that's what it is. It's also completely meaningless to a normal person. Instead, they said it's a private driver in your pocket. Boom. It instantly connects 2 things we all understand, private drivers and pockets, to explain something totally new. That's genius. And here's your new deadline for step 4, 5 seconds. That is all the time you get. Can a new visitor land on your website and grasp your core value in 5 seconds or less? It's a tough standard, but it's the reality of the modern web. If you're failing the 5-second test, nothing else matters. You have to cut, simplify, and clarify until you pass. When you really embrace this, it changes your entire professional identity. You stop being a salesman trying to push facts and features at people. You become a pathfinder. Your job is to be an expert in clarity, to clear away all the confusing brush and create a simple, elegant path for people to walk toward value. All right, let's bring it all home, our final section.
This is about the ultimate reward, the truly unfair advantage you get when you master cognitive fluency in a world that's addicted to complexity.
I love this quote because it perfectly captures the shift in thinking. The old way of marketing was about force, shoving people through complicated funnels. Fluency-focused marketing is about pull. You make the value so clear, so obvious, so easy to get that people are just naturally drawn to it. No pushing required. At the end of the day, it really is this simple. We live in a world of infinite noise. Attention is the scarcest resource we have. In that environment, complexity is a death sentence. The simplest message, the clearest idea, the easiest offer to understand, it doesn't just compete, it wins every time. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to take with you. Real growth isn't about adding more stuff. It's about learning what to subtract. So take a hard look at your website, your pitch, your product. What's the first piece of jargon, the first confusing feature, the first unnecessary step that you are going to eliminate tomorrow?